As a creator, receiving positive feedback for your work is probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the whole process. It's like you get a review or a comment or a tweet or whatever it is, and it's manna from heaven. It really, for me, spurs me on. Whenever I'm putting in really long hours on some piece and I'm struggling a bit, eyes are starting to go cross-eyed, that sort of stuff really encourages me. I got a review recently from RJ of Critical Blast, and he wrote, "The Lucent, a bright spot on the indie comic scene." When you wake up to something like that, it really, well, for me, it makes my day. And I just thought I would go through this review for anyone who isn't aware of my comic, my series, and let you know what RJ thinks of it. So here we go. RJ writes, "The Lucent, written and drawn by Michael Bancroft, takes readers on a compelling journey, not just into the life of the main character Ella Forsyth, but also the invisible world around her. It's our world, yet it's occupied by the otherworldly." Yeah, that's why I found it really hard to put my book into a genre. There's fantasy elements, but it's not set in a world like Lord of the Rings, high fantasy. It's not set in some mythological past, although there are elements of the story that happen in the past. They're very much supposed to be representative of real history, or at least alternate history. But that's a pretty good summation of the book. When we first meet Ella, she's a mere 6 years old, and a fearsome hunter, seemingly human but perhaps much more, pursues her. Settles for her father when the girl is mysteriously hidden. 14 years later, Ella is a young woman who has all but forgotten the events of that night, but she's starting to awaken to the fact that she has different realities open to her. Her dreams are vivid and lifelike, and in them she can do amazing things, defy gravity, leap tall buildings, etc. But in the waking world, her mundane existence is spent cataloging books in a small shop. Funny anecdote about that. This shop, it's actually, well, it was a real place. It's closed down since, but I used to go to this shop here in Melbourne and collect secondhand comic books. I think at one point I cleaned them out of their entire collection of Golden Age Superman and Superboy Australian reprints. Anyway, back to RJ. But when the man who raised her gifts her with a ring, her dreams transport her into someone else's life in a distant past. And with that, the solid and ethereal begin to have their first collisions. Excellently put, RJ. It's easy to see a Neil Gaiman influence in The Lucent, beyond the superficial aspect of the book being driven by dreams. The coexisting worlds evoke memories of Neverwhere, a book I have read and enjoyed. Excellent pickup there, RJ. While the tales of a stone man with chalk white skin and eyes of obsidian accurately describe Morpheus himself in Gaiman's graphic novel series Sandman, a book which I also left some visual clues scattered throughout Waking Dream as a reference. In fact, The Lucent is very much what The Matrix might have been had Gaiman realized it 20 years past instead of the Wachowskis. I always have said I want to write the story that I want to read that doesn't exist yet. Is very heavily influenced by The Matrix, but it goes in directions and does things that I think The Matrix didn't do. Bancroft's pacing is deliberate, his characterizations separate and unique to each player. The readers are not spoon-fed, not given an easy answer to explain the wild swings from one reality to another. And yet, despite this, it's very much evident that there is reason and rationale behind all of it. The reader acknowledges it intuitively rather than accept it as some blunt delivery. That was always very important for me to do. I didn't want to talk down to readers, and I very much wanted to keep the whole mystery aspect of it alive. It's not a story that grabs you by the throat and forces you along, but rather takes its time, setting little hooks into you before you realize you're snared and must now follow the narrator to the end. Well, that's great. As for the illustrations, Bancroft's pencils are nothing short of exquisite. Thank you so much, RJ. In a day where it's almost too much to ask for a character to be at least recognizably the same from one panel to panel, Bancroft's characters are unique and consistent throughout the story. The anatomy is on point, the backgrounds are filled with details. There's a bit of an Easter egg hunt in the young protagonist's bedroom, filled with British literature and pop culture items, along with, I'm going to assume, a full-length looking glass that is surely a callback to Carol's Alice. The colours are bright without being garish, with a vivid palette used expertly so that the characters don't appear flat, as often happens in so many independently produced comics. That is really, I really appreciate that you point that out and pick that up, and appreciate that, RJ. I spent a long time working on these colours and making sure that they work within the story and for the story. So that's great. As a backup piece, Bancroft includes something I've often recommended as a writing exercise to others, but never seen done in comic book form. Rather than reproduce rough pencil scenes with text walls or character description, Bancroft fully illustrates interviews between himself and each character, giving 2 pages to each. It's a technique for writers to get to better know their characters and chip away at temporary writer's block, but Bancroft proves it more than capable as a vehicle to take the readers inside the personalities of the dramatic personae. Yeah, look, this was a bit of a gamble, not gonna lie. I did feel like, considering the way I've structured the story, that I wanted to give readers a little bit more. I didn't want to do that thing, with the abilities and strength and all that sort of stuff and a little bio. I just didn't think it fit the Lucent. So yeah, I just went with this exactly like you said. It's a writing exercise. It's something that I've always done. I always just have random conversations with my characters in my own head, just to sort of get to know them better. And it's really weird when they answer things back to you in a way that you don't expect. And anyone who hasn't written characters might think that sounds completely schizophrenic and crazy, and maybe it is, but that's what happens with me. So I thought, why not put some of this stuff into the comic and use it as a way for people to get to know the characters and also get to know a little bit more about the world I'm building here. So that's really cool that people have really liked that, and that might be something I might continue on in the future. RJ finishes out by saying, all told, the Lucent, subtitled Waking Dream, is 80 pages of perfect bound, high quality comic book goodness that transcends the medium in much the way old school Vertigo books used to be lauded for. That is just, can't thank you enough for saying that, RJ. I'm very humbled, and I mean, it just hit exactly the mark that I was hoping for. So that's fantastic. That's great. I'm so happy you feel that way. I'm so happy that's how it's been received. He finishes saying, initially offered through crowdfunding, copies of the book are available to the general public through online outlets such as eBay. Yeah. Head to cgnow.net. There are still copies left of Waking Dream. They are limited. You can buy them through eBay. And I will have a reprint edition with a new cover of Waking Dream on the upcoming Painted Death campaign, which I do have a mailing list up for right now. So if you aren't signed up for that mailing list, please do jump on it. It's shaping up to be a hell of a book, a hell of a sequel, and I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to launch it. So thanks for listening. Please do subscribe, like the video, get the bell on, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time. All right, guys. Bye.
You speak as though I have conquered death. I live death every day. I am surrounded by it, smothered by it. Look at you now. He would have everlasting life. You seek to defy death, yet you cannot even defy sleep. It is a painted